Hi everyone. I've been working on the next major video on the channel. I'm not ready to announce it yet because it's still in the preliminary stages, but I've all but finished writing the script and I've been recording the narration, and while I have the mic, I'd figured I would respond to a few questions I've been receiving on the 9/11 Iceberg Chart. For some reason, there's been a gigantic influx of viewers over the past month. It started on Halloween, I don't really know why, but a lot of people coming here for the first time ask a lot of the same questions and have a lot of the same points. So here's a quick little Q&A of sorts.
Why did the FBI confiscate 85 video angles of the Pentagon crash?
I actually had someone reach out directly to my email and ask about this, which is what kind of sparked this idea of a whole Q&A to begin with. The theory goes that there are roughly 85 videos of the Pentagon crash that were confiscated by the FBI for reasons unknown, and they're being withheld from the public. I briefly mentioned one of these tapes that was taken from a nearby gas station. In actuality, those 85 videos don't technically exist. At least, not in the way that you may think. A Freedom of Information Act request was submitted by Scott Bingham in 2005, and of the 85 videotapes that might have been relevant to that request, 56 of them didn't even show the Pentagon at all. Most of the footage was angled away from the building, and some of the tapes were straight up blank. They didn't have anything on them at all. Here's a statement from FBI Special Agent Jacqueline McGuire, who actually conducted the search in the FBI archives. I subsequently searched a series of FBI evidence databases, including the FBI's electronic case file system and the FBI's investigative case management system, and determined that the FBI possessed 85 videotapes that might be potentially responsive to plaintiff's FOIA request. I next determined, through an examination of the chain of custody and other written supporting documentation associated with each videotape, that 56 of these videotapes did not show either the Pentagon building, the Pentagon crash site, or the impact of Flight 77 into the Pentagon. I personally viewed the remaining 29 videotapes. I determined that 16 of these videotapes did not show the Pentagon crash site and did not show the impact of Flight 77. Out of the remaining 13 videotapes which did show the Pentagon crash site, 12 only showed the Pentagon after the impact of Flight 77. I determined that only one videotape showed the impact of Flight 77 into the Pentagon on September 11, 2001. That videotape is the CD-ROM described in paragraph 23, i.e., the Pentagon's own security camera system. Nearly all of the tapes themselves have never been released to the general public, but there is a detailed list describing the video format that they were recovered on, the date in which they were recovered, and at least for some, what they actually contain. This doesn't explain away the lack of footage from the Pentagon itself. Surely a building with the highest surveillance in the entirety of the United States should have had a few more video angles, but it does explain this specific 85 angles figure.
What about the urban moving systems van?
People have been directing me to this image, supposedly of a van used by urban moving systems. We talked about urban moving systems in Layer 6 of the iceberg and how it was a front for Mossad to conduct intelligence, but this is definite proof that the Israelis had advanced knowledge of September 11th, right? I mean, it has a plane crashing into the World Trade Center painted right on the side. The thing is, there's absolutely no confirmation that this van was used by the workers of urban moving. In the ABC report that first broke the story back in 2002, the actual box vans they used can be seen in this shot, sporting a very different logo than the other picture. Another news clip broadcast on 9/11 puts out an all-points bulletin for a white van with text on it. No mention whatsoever of the plane crash mural.
The FBI has now put out an APB, an all-points bulletin nationwide. They're looking for a white Chevy van with New Jersey registration, and written on the back of the white van are the words urban moving system. Apparently this van is carrying 3 male occupants. Obviously, if you see this van, you're asked to contact the FBI.
Now, some can say, well, maybe they had another type of van. And the thing is, They did. In the very same ABC report, they show pictures, supposedly taken by the lady across the street, of the actual van they were spotted in. And it's just a plain white van. No text, no images on the side. It's not even a box van, it's just a normal van. I know this was one that the Israelis were spotted in because this picture crossfades into another picture of the same van now surrounded by police. In addition, while there's actual motion video footage of the real urban moving vans, there are absolutely no video clips at all of the supposed mural van. I could find only one clip that purports to show the van very briefly, but if you actually watch it, you'll realize that it's not even the same type of van as the other one, and it doesn't even have the World Trade Center on the side. It's just an image of a plane going like that. Also, here's the original image of the van that got photoshopped.
What about Larry Silverstein?
A few things I neglected to mention about Larry Silverstein. While the World Trade Center technically did go up for auction in 2000, Larry didn't actually place his bid until the year after. Another real estate company outbid him by nearly $600 million. But once that deal fell through, Silverstein's bid was approved in July of 2001. One of the terms of the agreement was his obligation to purchase an all-risk insurance policy, which happened to cover terrorist attacks. According to the Insurance Information Institute, prior to 9/11, terrorism was almost always included in insurance coverage because the chances of it actually happening seemed so slim. Plus, the World Trade Center was a victim of terrorism before, back in 1993, so yeah, it made sense. However, once the attacks were over, Silverstein attempted to claim twice as much as the policy stated. The insurance payout for the complex was supposed to be $3.5 billion, but Larry argued that because both plane crashes were separate incidents, or occurrences, he should be paid a total of $7.1 billion. I should point out that at the time, the estimated cost of rebuilding the whole plaza was $10 billion. The courts disagreed, and Silverstein eventually ended up getting only $4.5 billion, just over half of what he originally wanted. This hasn't stopped some people from interpreting all this as a premeditated scheme, even giving him the nickname of Lucky Larry. This commonly happens in niche political circles. People make up dumb nicknames for influential people, and I've always found it tacky no matter what end of the political spectrum you're on. I called Donald Trump by his name. I don't call Joe Biden Sleepy Joe, I just call him Joseph. That's it. But I digress.
Why did you say steel was invented in the 1700s?
This was me being an idiot and mixing up my information. While it is true that steel began to be widely used in European engineering around the 18th century, steel production dates back as far as 2000 BC in Anatolia, now Turkey, with it spreading to the west as early as 500 BC. By the 1700s, different techniques had been pioneered which made steel cheaper and easier to produce. So, it's entirely possible that Nostradamus could have written about steel in his lifetime, but you know what the real kicker is? The actual quatrain from Nostradamus' writings doesn't even mention steel at all. This quote is erroneously translated. Here's what it actually says.
45 degrees, the sky shall burn, to the great new city shall the fire draw nigh. With the immense the flames shall spread and shine, when with the Normans the conclusions try.
So yeah, even if I did get it right the first time, it wouldn't have mattered anyway.
Why did you call Trump an architect?
This was a poor choice of words on my part. Trump, like Larry Silverstein, is not an architect but a real estate developer. An architect actually designs the building and makes sure it'll be structurally sound and look good. Real estate developers more so deal with the actual plot of land and the money behind it all. Trump probably had a say in the designs of all the buildings he's owned. I mean, most of them have his name on them. But he definitely hired someone else to do the actual architectural work.
Why did you put the Bill and Ted 69 clip in?
This is an example of things getting lost in translation. I think most people flocking to the full Iceberg video for the first time don't realize that it was originally split up into parts. Back when I started the script in 2022, there wasn't a comprehensive list of Flight 175 camera angles. Some websites had made lists in the past, such as 911conspiracy.tv, but they've been out of date for a couple years at least. So I attempted to guesstimate the number using that list and the new angles that had recently been discovered, like Kevin Westley's. In part 1, I said it was 70 angles. In part 3, I said 73. Both of these numbers were wrong. At the beginning of 2023, a YouTuber by the name of Erebus678 made a compilation of all known camera angles of Flight 175, and he was able to find and count 69 unique angles. When it came time to edit together all the parts for the full uncensored version, this was one of the inaccuracies I intended to correct. I didn't have my microphone, and I didn't want it to be a shitty sounding overdub anyway, since I'd already done that several times before. What piece of media has the phrase 69 in it?
69!
That's when I had the idea to cut the Bill and Ted clip into that section of the video, as a way to sort of bring attention to the change. But yeah, I can definitely understand now, most people probably didn't know that, and thought that I was just making a joke. I probably should have communicated that in a better way. But hey, it was intended to be jarring, and most of you did indeed find it jarring.
What about Rob Lowe?
So, apparently there's more to the story that Rob Lowe was on a dry run flight with a few of the 9/11 hijackers. According to him, during an episode of The View, which every major news agency cited as a source but I can't seem to fucking find anywhere, he was contacted by the Maryland Attorney General about having to possibly testify in the 2006 trial of Zacarias Moussaoui, the only Al-Qaeda member so far to have been prosecuted by the United States for the actions of 9/11. Before that, he didn't even know that the supposed hijackers were there, so the little quip about him seeing Arabs and immediately thinking they were terrorists is definitely unfair, and I apologize for that. But at the same time, he really doesn't give us a lot of detail to work with. He never mentions any names. He calls it a small plane, which, yeah, might not have been as wide as a 767, but it can still seat like 200 people. And in the end, he didn't even have to testify in court at all. James Woods made similar claims on Fox News in 2006, saying that he reported to the first officer 4 suspicious men that were whispering to each other, ignoring the flight attendants, and not sleeping for the entire cross-country flight. Except that his claims were valid enough to warrant the FBI showing up to his house to interrogate him, something that did not happen with Rob Lowe.
6:45 the next morning, I got a phone call that actually wakes me up, and he said, we want to talk to you about the flight that you took in August. I said, oh, did the manifest match of any of the flights yesterday and my flight? He said, well, we can't tell you that. I said, well, look, I'll get ready and I'll come down to the federal building. He said, we're outside your house. We'll just wait for you.
Wow, 7:15.
And this is the only funny part of any of this. I said, how did you know where I lived? And there was a pause. He said, we're the FBI. We're the FBI. Thank you.
So far as I know, Woods also did not have to testify at the Moussaoui trial.
Why does your voice sound like that?
Fun fact about me. I am constantly thirsty. I already drink a lot of water and I'm still like this. I don't know why. Maybe it's a side effect of the medication I take. Maybe I'm slowly dying of rabies and don't know it yet.
Or maybe it's this conveniently placed smoke.
Alright, that's it. That's pretty much all I had to say for now. See you all in 2024 when we do the next major video. So, yeah, see ya.
You should do some research. Read all the documents.
I have
go
done my
into
research.
it.